Hi, I'm Dad the Engineer. Today I'm going to drill into optimizing the performance of SpaceX's Starlink. If you've already seen my Starlink introduction video, this is going to be a deeper dive. If you missed that video, you should check it out through the link in the description below. If you're watching this, you probably either have Starlink or you're curious enough about it that you want a deeper understanding of what you're getting into. Either way, I have you covered. SpaceX knew their internet connectivity solution was a logical choice for anyone with a lack of other options. For example, those that need high-speed internet connectivity in rural locations or on the go. Those audiences don't need a cost-competitive option because there isn't really much in terms of comparable competition. For those that do have alternatives available, SpaceX tried to add as much bang for the buck as possible by making their equipment an all-in-one solution. You see, when you get a Starlink dish, you also receive an uplink appliance that they refer to as a Starlink router. This device is responsible for providing the antenna with power, acting as a satellite transceiver, controlling the heater, and positioning the disk when paired with some models. SpaceX didn't stop there, though. They also included a router and wireless access point. The problem is that the router and wireless access point are not that great. Assuming that you get the typical 50 to 250 megabit downstream bandwidth that most Starlink customers get at the router, you may only see a fraction of that speed at your laptop, TV, phone, or other devices. It starts with the router, which is a no-frills module, and has very little in the way of features. Sure, there's some basic routing and NAT management, but it's largely just meant to share an internet connection. Real traffic shaping and stateful packet inspection can't be found here. Routing performance is only okay, and it struggles in high usage scenarios. The built-in wireless access point is fine, with the main downsides being the location of the device and the antennas. You see, because the installation requires hooking the Starlink router to the Starlink dish, most people keep the Starlink router close to an exterior wall of their residence. Assuming that you can have adequate coverage with a single wireless access point, the best placement for it will typically be in the center of your coverage area. It's tough to do that if your Starlink router is close to an exterior wall. To make matters worse, the router's internal Wi-Fi antennas are optimized for packaging and not for coverage. You can optimize your routing performance by using a better router. You accomplish this by putting the Starlink router into bypass mode, which essentially turns off the onboard router. The Starlink device, via an Ethernet port, passes the raw internet traffic through to the router of your choice. I love Ubiquiti equipment and use a Ubiquiti Dream Machine Pro. If you don't need that much power, they offer the Cloud Gateway Ultra or Unify Express, which are great options as well. In truth though, most standalone routers are a significant upgrade over the built-in Starlink router. Wi-Fi performance is dependent on the antennas of the devices that are sending and receiving data. It's also heavily influenced by the materials that the electromagnetic waves are traveling through, as well as the distance those waves are traveling. Depending on your environment, a single wireless access point may be fine. It's worth noting, though, that maintaining high wireless speeds throughout your coverage area may require more than one access point. Providing fast and reliable connectivity throughout my house, and on much of the 2 acres it sits on, comes from 6 access points in total, all directly wired with Ethernet. I have a mix of UAP Nano HDs, UAP AC lights, and a UAP ACM Pro. This infrastructure will probably outlive my Starlink by a significant measure. If you're tempted to use mesh networking due to the convenience of installation, just understand that the nature of repeater-based mesh networking means that both bandwidth and latency are negatively impacted. This is only partially mitigated in expensive equipment that uses a dedicated radio for backhaul communication. Unsurprisingly, Starlink mesh nodes are pretty awful. If the goal is to make the most of the bandwidth and latency you have back to the Starlink network, you will accomplish that by adding quality router and wireless access point hardware. For sure, it makes Starlink a more expensive proposition, but it's also true that this equipment, unlike the Starlink hardware, can be reused with future iterations of Starlink, with different internet connectivity or even possibly in multi-WAN scenarios. I'll be making a separate video on the topic, but I think that the multi-WAN proposition is one of the best use cases for Starlink. I use Starlink as a backup internet connection. This is possible because the router I use can take advantage of up to 3 internet connections, providing load balancing or failover between them. The end result is that the house always has seamless connectivity. That's just one of the advanced features not supported by the Starlink router. If you found this video to be helpful, please like and subscribe as I get this thing going. If you'd like to contribute some feedback, please engage with me in the comments below. If, like me, you're a little old school, please check out my website linked in my bio. Thanks and have an awesome day.